Hi, everybody. I'm Brett Lonsdale from Lightning Tools, and this afternoon we're going to be talking about spring cleaning your SharePoint environment in terms of permissions and getting it Copilot ready, and also looking at storage management as well. So, just a quick intro for anybody that is not familiar with Lightning Tools. So, we're a company based in the UK, headquartered in the UK. We also have our presence in North America as well. And yeah, over the past 19 years, we've been providing products across Microsoft SharePoint, so really specializing in SharePoint, permissions management being one of those key areas that we focus on. But we also get involved in things like InfoPath form migration. We focus on forms and automation, and also content aggregation, data visualization, and employee engagement through discussion forums as well. So yeah, the product that we're going to be focused on today is the permissions management tool, and we're going to dive into that with a focus on getting our environment spring cleaned, and really looking to tidy up any permission issues that may be causing businesses risk, and also storage, which may be also costing money and also introducing risk as well. So the whole thing is really going to be focused on that. We're going to present different business problems that you may be facing as an organization, and we'll in turn have a look at DeliverPoint and how DeliverPoint can help you overcome some of those challenges when it comes to permission reporting, oversharing through sharing links, and also clutter as well, which you can see here in this teenager's bedroom. And I recently had the pleasurable job of cleaning up my kids' bedrooms. I've got three kids, and each of them are just as messy as one another's. And yeah, it's a challenge because tidying it up is really something that you need them to do, because there's a lot of stuff that they have the ownership of. They understand what it is and where they want to keep it, and also they want to make sure that their siblings don't get hold of it as well, so they're not going to be sharing it with one another. They want to keep it private. So yeah, with that, we're going to use that really as our sort of key as we go through the product today. We're going to have a look at why spring cleaning permissions really matters. So we'll again tie that back to understanding the risk to your organization of not being on top of permissions, not just from an IT perspective, but also from the site owner perspective. And if you think of that teenager there as the site owner or the bedroom owner, really IT pros as the parents and the house owner, we're putting the rules out there. We're wanting people to, or the children to follow those rules, keep their bedrooms tidy, and that way we end up having a clean and tidy house. So it's being governed, but the people with the ownership of the content are the ones that really understand what can be gotten rid of, what can be tidied up, and what can't be shared. So we're going to, like I say, understand the risks. We'll look at the cost and the Copilot impact on not being on top of that content, and then how SharePoint permissions can sort of slowly become a problem that organizations need to be on top of. So just like the bedrooms, it doesn't happen overnight. We start to break permission inheritance here and there. We start to introduce sharing on certain content, and before we know it, it's a major cleanup in order to put that back to how we want it. So we're going to take a look, of course, at DeliverPoint after each investigation into each problem, and how DeliverPoint can help us fix some of those issues, both as an owner and as an IT pro perspective. And we're going to highlight the webinar with a new premium feature of DeliverPoint, which is focused on not just who has permissions, but also on how you can control cost with looking at your storage. So we can see where duplicate files are becoming an issue for you within your sites, or large files, and also multiple file versions, and the problem that could cause, and hopefully being able to make site owners more aware of that, and help them to help us with getting rid of some of that content. So the business problems that we're going to focus on, first of all, one that I hear every day when we're doing private demonstrations and so on with different customers, is that nobody's really confident as to who has access to the content. And that is again coming from IT pros, so SharePoint administrators, as well as site collection administrators or site owners. So even for a site owner, it's really challenging when you know the content, you understand what the content is, but you don't understand where it's been shared, where permission inheritance has been broken, um, what yeah, like I said, what sharing links are occurring, or even how people have been granted permissions sometimes. So this is really a problem because there's no bulk reporting, and we're going to have a look at how we can overcome that again with DeliverPoint. We're also going to focus on sensitive content. So we're going to look at the sensitivity labels that you can apply, how sometimes they're not applied at all, or occasionally they're also applied inconsistently, and the impact that that can have as to whether people can download files, whether they can also share them externally, or create anyone links, and also how Copilot treats that content as well. So we'll be exploring that and the issue that that can have for you as a business. We'll also look at how Copilot can surface content that may be out of context. So really looking at how Copilot just really is acting upon what it has, or what you as the current user has access to. It's not really considering which is the latest file, which is the most relevant file. It's really what does it have access to, and it's answering the question. So yeah, we're going to need to start looking at stale content or duplicate content, and how we can remove that and find it in the first place in order to eliminate that issue. Um, yeah, permissions exist after people leave the organization. So typically, they are disabled at the Active Directory level or the Entra ID level, which means they can't authenticate. So it's not necessarily going to be a security risk to you or to your organization, but it is challenging for managers when they're seeing people that left an organization or changed roles several years ago, and yet they're still showing up inside of permission reports. And we're seeing a I guess mistrust in who has access to this content, and the blame is often put onto IT for not properly clearing up when yeah, it's not down to them always to find where this content resides. And yeah, storage growing is also not just a cost. We may be paying for additional storage, but it's also increasing risk as well. If we've got duplicate files, excessive versions, again, we may tie down certain files because we consider that content as sensitive or confidential, not realizing that this very same file has been duplicated somewhere else and doesn't have a label assigned to it, or has been shared with everybody in the organization or something to that effect. So no matter what the sensitivity label says here on the door, that door can be locked on the other side. But when you've got content coming outside of that, it's there for anybody. It's there for anybody to access. Copilot can be surfacing it, or other users inside the organization that shouldn't necessarily have a handle on that content. So we're going to focus on problem number one first of all. So no one is confident who has access anymore. And you will see messages like this inside of the manage access pane in SharePoint. So this one here is just saying that more people may have access because this item is in a shared folder. So if you're checking folder permissions, and that folder is a subfolder, or you're checking file permissions within a folder, and that folder has been shared, this is exactly what you're going to see. So already it's leading into a mistrust as to who has access to that content, and we may be scared to actually put more content into that folder if we don't have a true understanding as to who has access. And that's really down to the fact that we don't really have a good understanding as to where the permission inheritance has been broken. There's sharing links that are difficult to find, and when sharing links are created, sometimes you may think, yeah, I'm just going to share this by copying the link, creating an anyone link, I'll tidy it up shortly, and then forgetting about it, and it's still like I said, accessible a year later. And group membership isn't obvious either. So the Entra ID groups are not enumerated by SharePoint. They never have been. So this is a challenge when you've got nested Entra ID groups or Active Directory security groups nested with inside of M365 groups or SharePoint groups. We don't get to see that membership, and that can lead to duplicate permissions being assigned, where we're then granting permissions directly on content, or oversharing because we want to give access to another team member, we then start to apply more permissions than we actually need to when that person did have content access anyway. We just couldn't see it. And finally, problem here is we can only check one item at a time. So there's no bulk visibility and therefore no bulk correction either. So we're going to have a look at DeliverPoint just purely on these business problems first of all, and then we'll jump to problem number two. So seeing permissions clearly across the entire site, this is something that we can do with DeliverPoint. We can actually select multiple files or folders if we want to, report those, or we can report across the entire site with a focus on what has broken permission inheritance or what has a certain sensitivity label applied to it, or we can look at certain permission levels, etc., and not just look at one object. We can, like I say, do that across an entire library, across multiple folders and subfolders, etc. So we're going to have a look at that from the site owner perspective, but bear in mind that also as an IT pro, you could go in and span multiple site collections and report on those in one go as well, or request that a site owner is checking the permissions based on scheduled reporting, which we'll also take a look at. So we will be able to enumerate the group membership with DeliverPoint. So even if it's an Entra ID or Active Directory security group, we can take action as well. So a lot of the reports that you get with Microsoft SharePoint, specifically things like the SharePoint Advanced Management and Data Access Governance, you'll get a report, but it's not actionable. It tends to be in a CSV file. You have to go to that CSV file, see where the problem is, and then navigate to where that content is and maybe remove permissions or whatever, reset the permission inheritance, etc. So it's back and forth all the time to the CSV file and to where the content resides. And even then, you're not going to be confident that the right permissions are still assigned because, like I say, you don't have the visibility into things like the interest security groups and so on. One of the things we can do with DeliverPoint that we'll take a look at here as well is lock in a good known permission state. So if you tidy up the permissions, you get them exactly as you want them, maybe on certain files or folders, or maybe on the site or a library, you can take a snapshot of that and always compare and revert back to that snapshot at any point. So permissions, just like the bedroom, they don't start to become an issue overnight. It's over time. So in a few months from now, we could always revert back and check whether we're still managing the permissions in the way that we intended originally. And finally, we're going to also take a look here at sharing links and how we can clean them up centrally within a site. I can see there's a question come in. I did forget to mention that I'm going to read out these questions and respond to them at the end of the webinar as well. So let's jump into DeliverPoint now. So I'm signed into this human resources site as a site owner. And we're going to take a look at some of the different permission reports that we can run. What you'll notice, first of all, in the very top right-hand corner is a few menu items such as discovering permissions, checking for sharing links, getting a summary of permissions, looking at the labeled files or unlabeled files, and also being able to schedule all of these reports as well for your convenience. And there's a lot more to DeliverPoint than just that. These are things that are accessible to you as a site owner. And what I'm going to show you here is if I go into the site, not as a site owner, so here I'm signed in as demo user 5, and you'll notice there's no icon in the top right hand corner. I don't have visibility to the DeliverPoint tool. So it's going to be completely invisible. We wouldn't be able to gain access to it unless we were a site owner or had full control to the site that we're looking at. So back in as me, and I'm represented by this account called Lightning Tools, not as Brett. Yeah, as Lightning Tools, one of the things I can do is discover permissions. And what that does is immediately gives me a list of everybody that is permissioned to this particular SharePoint site. Now, at the moment, I'm only focused on the site itself, not focused on any content residing in the site, but this is giving me complete visibility on everybody that is permissioned, and it doesn't matter what permission level you have, how those permissions were assigned. We've got a custom permission level in here that is being enumerated. We've got some direct permissions where they were assigned without group membership. We also have web-only limited access being reported, which occurs when somebody's given permissions to something in the site, but not necessarily the site itself, so they can navigate to the content. So we can see all of those users. We can see external users as well as internal users. External users are depicted by the fact that their name is in italic fonts, so they're going to stand out here. So you can see there's two Brett Lonsdales, one in italics, one in standard font. This black and white image of me 15 years ago is my internal account, and the other one here is my external account through Gmail. So that's full visibility on everybody that is permissioned. And you can either see this groups first and then expand the groups. And that includes the Entra security groups. So that is one of them, the human resources managers. Or we can see it by individual first. And that's really more powerful as a site owner, as a business user, to be able to see a list of people, not a list of groups that are permissioned. And what you can do from here is drill into each of those. So once we can see their account, what permission they've been assigned, we can then see how that permission is assigned as well. And I also mentioned that these are actionable reports. So if we just jump to the second page of this permission report, and I'm going to select this direct permission first of all, where demo user 9 has design permissions, we can come up to the actions menu at the very top and choose account management, and we can do things like transfer those permissions or copy the permissions. So if you've got somebody joining the department and they need to have the same permissions as somebody else, we can copy permissions between those accounts, or if somebody's leaving the department being replaced by someone, we can also transfer permissions. And it doesn't just have to stop at the site. We can also affect any lists, folders, and items. So anywhere where permission inheritance has been broken, demo user 9 has permissions to that content, we could give those permissions to somebody else. So I'm just going to transfer those to demo user 7 here. And as a safety net, because we're doing a bulk operation, one of the things we can also do is support a rollback. So we can always undo this at a future date. And we've got the safety net of making sure that we do or don't affect the security, the SharePoint groups or the M365 groups. We don't affect the security groups, just for clarity. So if we did want to switch out group membership, we can do that as well for the groups that are scoped to this site. And also, that's kind of it. Yeah, we can also overwrite target permissions as well. One of the other nice things about this is we can keep track of why we did things. So I've got the ability to add comments so that when I'm auditing the permission changes, I know why I transfer permissions from demo user 9 to demo user 7. And a fairly new feature here as well is the ability to schedule that. So if I don't want it taking place now, maybe I'm going to be out of the office on Monday and this change is taking place on Monday, I could go through and schedule that for Monday instead. So yeah, just running that operation, you can see it's iterating through some content. It's transferred the permissions at the site level. It's also affected some group membership and a sharing link. And if we go back now to the discover permissions and refresh it, you'll see on page 2, yeah, we no longer see demo user 9 as having design permissions. It's demo user 7 that has those design permissions. And either immediately, if we realize we affected too much content, or later, we can go to the jobs view, we'll be able to reverse that job as well. So this is going to enumerate all the jobs that are performed. There's the recent one, transfer permissions. It was job number 100. And I can select that, choose rollback, and that will literally put things back to how they were. So if we again come back in, refresh, you can see demo user 9 has those design permissions intact again, and demo user 7 has lost their design permissions. So that's the actionable report. We can not just transfer permissions or copy them, we can also delete permissions, revoke permissions, which means taking away some permissions but leaving others intact, and so on across that site. Now, as I also mentioned, you can take a snapshot. So once we've tidied up the permissions, we've got them exactly as we want them. We could take a snapshot here, give it a name. So we just call this HR 29th of Jan. So you can describe that however you want. We can also include subsites, lists, folders, and items inside that, and take that snapshot, and that gives us the ability to always compare back to this moment in time or reset the permissions back to this moment in time as well. So I've got some previous snapshots that we took. So if we just go to recover permissions here, I'll take one from back in May, and if I hit compare permissions, we can see what changes have occurred. So at site level, we had a new group created called HR contributors. We made demo user 9 have design permissions, and we've also got demo user 8 having full control, etc. So there's our comparison. If we want to recover those, we can just hit recover permissions and put it back to that state. So that's reporting on just the site. You can also report on content. We mentioned a problem is you can only check permissions one folder or one file at a time, which isn't scalable. So one of the things we can do with DeliverPoint is actually go through and select multiple files or folders, and we can hit discover permissions, and it will discover permissions across everything that we selected. Now, better than just going through and selecting content, one of the things we can also do from the main DeliverPoint page is run a advanced discover permissions report. And what I'm going to tell this one to do is to just include everything that has unique permissions, whether it's a list or a library, or whether it's a folder or an item. I want to be able to see if it has unique permissions and who has access to that content. So when I generate that, that gives me everything I need to see in one report. So we have now who has access to the site, who has access to the lists or the libraries, and who has access to the content that also has unique permissions. And again, you can sort, filter, and action this permission report. You can also take a copy of it if you want to as a CSV file. Okay, so that's discovering permissions. The other thing we said we would focus on here as a solution is sharing links. So just to show you, I'm going to switch back to demo user 5, and demo user 5 has only edit permissions to this site and to the content within the site. And herein lies the problem as to why things get shared so much. So even with just edit permissions and not full control, we can go against a document, hit the share button, and of course share this content. We kind of need to know what we're doing. If we do that, we know we're sharing it. More innocently, and in fact, let's go back to a employment contract for this. Let's just suppose that one of these employment contracts is mine. I've asked somebody who has access to the HR site to send me a copy of it. So they go in and they say, yeah, I'll copy you a link to your employment contract. And by doing that, they have inadvertently, not deliberately, they have overshared this with everyone or anyone. So literally anybody can access this. And if we go into the settings here, in fact, let's just grab that sharing link. So let me grab it this way. So I'm just going to go into manage access. So under links, there's the sharing link, which we'll copy. So of course, you need to have the link. And what we're going to do is bring in a new private window where I'm not authenticated, and I'm going to paste in the link to that file. And there it is. There's the employment contract. I'm not signed in as anybody, and I can access that employment contract because of the way that it was shared. But more importantly, if I don't have the link, Copilot can now access that as me. So if I go in and ask Copilot a question, it's going to serve me the response from that overshared file. And we'll be able to demonstrate that in just a moment. So that's oversharing. How we can find that? Well, there's the manage access option that you just saw, but that's where we do it one by one file at a time. If I choose 2, manage access disappears, but what you still have is DeliverPoint at the bottom here, where we can check for the sharing links across those 2 folders, or better still, we can check it at this level and go across the entire site. So that has found every employment contract, every folder, every file or list item or even list that has been shared. And we can see who shared it, when it was shared, and what type of sharing link it is. So whether it was shared with anybody or whether it was shared with specific people. And if it's shared with specific people, you'll be able to see who they are. And you can also do things like change expiration date. So in that business problem, we mentioned that people share things with anyone, maybe as a temporary thing. What we could do in here is come and say, yeah, we will share this for a day, and tomorrow that sharing link will be removed. All right, so we can bulk manage it, we can remove those sharing links, and we can also alter the sharing links as well. So if we see something like this where there was a file shared with somebody's internal as well as their external account, we could remove the external account, maybe change this down to review rather than edit, and make that change, and it's been made in real time. Okay, so we've covered there the discover permissions, a job like transferring permissions, also sharing link reporting, and we also took a look at taking a snapshot of permissions so we can recover them at any point. So let's jump on to another problem. So sensitive content becomes visible to the wrong people. And one of the things you did see me just perform was a anyone link. Now, of course, that can be locked down, but this is the default in my case, where copying a link is going to generate a anyone sharing link. You could stop anyone sharing links from being created at all. So that's one of the things you can also set as a property, and we make that easier to do as well. So members can share, as you saw. So demo user 5 with edit permissions was able to share without realizing the impact of sharing. And yeah, again, that wasn't a malicious thing. It was just obtaining a link to a contract. Access reviewed one item at a time. We just saw that as well. And then everyone and anyone mean exactly what they say. So without signing in, as you saw, I was able to gain access to that file. And what we're going to look at here is also how Copilot could access that file as well as us. And yeah, temporary access rarely expires. So we saw how we could go through and set those expiry links. So preventing accidental exposure, one of the areas that you can do that with is the sensitivity labels. So if we just jump back here into our site, I'm going to go into the employment contracts in here. Sorry, they're just taking a moment to load. There we go. And inside the employment contracts, again, we can go into the details of each file, and we'll be able to see the sensitivity label that is applied. So this has a sensitivity label saying it's confidential. If we select two files, again, that disappears. We've only got the record retention label showing up there. So again, it's a file by file thing in order to be able to find what sensitivity labels are applied to the content within inside the site. So what we have is the ability to report on that. And it's not just unlabeled content, it's incorrectly labeled content or inconsistently labeled content. Not labeling it correctly can have the effect of whatever is behind the purview rule that says what you can or cannot do with that content. So going back to demo user 5 again, demo user 5 was actually able to go in as anybody can with a Copilot license. They can create an agent. And I've got the agent open up here. And here's one of the queries that I created. It was an agent created purely on that one document library. And I said, summarize the files that I have access to. And what it returned is all of these employment contracts, giving the information such as the salaries of each of those people. Now, that person had access, which is the only reason why Copilot could do what it did. But Demo User 5 is not a HR manager. They just happen to have permissions to that site that they would have if something was overshared with them. So if an anyone link was created, they would have access to that content. If we scroll down a little bit, you'll notice that there's one employment contract that didn't get served, and that's this one for Robert Barr. And if we have a look at Robert Barr, let's just jump back here into the document library, we'll see that Robert Barr's employment contract was actually signed with confidential HR only. Now that has a rule behind it that says only members of a Entra security group called human resource managers can access this information through Copilot. Nobody else can. And by accidentally labeling the other content as confidential, that meant that these contracts were actually served through Copilot. So you can see the effect of how powerful the sensitivity labels can be to stop Copilot from serving it, but it would also stop duplications. It would also stop people from downloading files or sharing externally as well, and whatever else is behind that rule for you. So what we can make sure that we do, rather than visiting every file one at a time, with DeliverPoint, we can come in and first of all check for any unlabeled content. So as we generate that, it's found 2 files that aren't labeled at all. So we can take care of that straight away. Highlight those. From our actions menu, we can come down to information protection, assign a sensitivity label, and give the justification as to why we're doing it. So that could be confidential or the confidential HR only, and so on. Or what we could also do from the same screen, either from there or by going into the main DeliverPoint page, you can come down here to discover labeled files, and we could say, let's have a look for anything marked as confidential, and we could generate that. So this has found all the confidential files. We could select all of those and again go through and assign the sensitivity label. And just in case this occurs again, what we could do is actually make that operate on a weekly or daily basis, and reassign these labels. So we can simply go through and say we want to label it with HR only, schedule that, and this is then going to take place, and that content will be protected from being served by Copilot or shared externally, and so on. All right, so that's the type of thing that we can do here with sensitivity labels. Finding anyone links at scale, we saw how we could easily do that in a site, but what you can also do is select multiple site collections. So even if you were signed in here as an IT pro or site collection admin across multiple site collections, you'll be able to select those multiple site collections, and under the reports menu, you can check for anyone sharing links or everyone permissions. So as we run that, it's looking for multiple variations of the anyone link, and as we generate it, it will iterate through all of that content for me, and there's all of the anyone links returned. We can select them all, remove them, and that's taken place very quickly, rather than potentially going through individually hundreds or thousands of files buried in different folders. All right, so next topic is Copilot surfacing information out of context, and we just saw potentially the damage that Copilot could do on content that a user has access to. Now, we might be using the right label. We may have locked down permissions correctly on our folders and our files, not realizing that at some point in time, a duplicate file was made and stored somewhere else. And just again, to show you how easy that could happen, if we jump back here into documents, and then employment contracts, how many of us are guilty of doing this, having a separate folder for the employment contracts that we're currently working on? And when they've got into a state where they're almost approved, we have another folder where that file resides. So if we're doing that, of course, we may forget that we've got these other copies somewhere else. Not only are they taking up space, but they're now a security risk, because we could have locked down all of these employment contracts, completely overlooking the ones that are stored in other folders elsewhere, not just in the same site, but maybe also in other sites as well. So that content is at risk. We need to make sure that the right sensitivity label is applied to it. If we do want to serve Copilot with it, which one's it going to serve? So they all look the same. The early versions of that file may have different information to the most current, the most recent version of that file, and Copilot's not going to be able to distinguish as to which one is right and which one's wrong. So it's going to feed you potentially incorrect information. So one of the things you can do with DeliverPoint now, and this is a new premium feature, is look for any duplicate files. You can also look at multiple versions of files as well. One of the risks with multiple versions is not just the fact that they're taking up space again, but one of those earlier versions could very easily be promoted to be the latest version, and that could be the file that is being served by the Copilot index. So identifying duplicate files, this is something, again, you can do either as a site owner or as IT Pro, as a SharePoint admin. And going into the main DeliverPoint page here, we've got this storage management menu. And as we go into there, you'll notice there's 3 new reports. So those of you that are familiar with DeliverPoint already. And the first one is discover duplicate files. So as we run that, we may be overwhelmed with the amount of duplicate files that are being returned. So what you can do is pre-filter this information. So we could look for duplicate files within a certain date period, or whether it's accessible externally, what the file size is, etc. So depending on what we're looking for, we could go through and find those duplicate files. And if we hit generate, we'll have the information returned. It gives us an idea as to how much space we could save if we remove those duplicates. But again, it's not all about saving space and saving storage costs. This actually gets rid of the potential that one of these is a security risk. So this draft version of the document, if that's no longer needed, I can now remove the selected version. And that will be put to the recycle bin and won't be served by Copilot. And then we'll be able to fetch that back if we really did need it, or the problem's now gone away. And again, you would need to have the right level of permissions in order to be able to do that. We couldn't delete that if we didn't have full control to those items. So that's finding duplicates, and we can also find versions. But I'm just going to save that for a moment when we start talking a bit more about the space saving. So another issue is another problem that can arise is permissions still persist after people leave the organization. So again, it's not necessarily a security risk, but it's messy to leave those people behind. It can be misleading to managers and so on that are reporting on permissions within inside their sites. OneDrive sharing links could potentially be a security risk. So if that person that has now left the organization, in their OneDrive, they were sharing content externally or even with other people internally, that's often overlooked. We need to make sure that we know what that person was sharing and with whom, and then be able to potentially move that content as well. And yeah, also looking for any orphaned access, we'd need to go through site by site manually, which is just going to be an impossible task, looking for what content that person that left the organization may well be the owner of. So with DeliverPoint, we can first of all audit permissions, and the reason why this is relevant to somebody leaving, let's just take somebody that's not necessarily a true and honest person. Let's just say that they shared information with themselves, with their personal account, just like my Gmail account there, prior to leaving the organization. So how do we find that? Well, I'm going to show you how we can audit permissions. So rather than just seeing who has access to sharing links now, or who has permissions now, we can see who assigned permissions and then remove them as well. So any changes that have occurred regarding permissions over a certain period of time. We'll also have a look at the dead account reporting and removal, so we'll be able to find disabled or dead accounts. We'll be able to focus in on one particular user and what permissions they have to content. We'll also be able to check their OneDrive sharing, and if need be, we can do a tenant-wide cleanup of those permissions. So let's jump in and take a look at that. So first of all, let's look at auditing. So if we go into the main DeliverPoint page, under the schedule menu item, we can come into auditing and choose that we want to audit permission changes. Now, this is using Purview, which does carry a cost. It's giving you an idea as to what that is. That's not our cost, that's Microsoft's cost of generating the report. But what you can do is put in a date range in here. So if I said look back at the last 90 days till now, and what I want to look at is any permission changes across sites, lists, or items. We could also include any SharePoint group membership changes, any sensitivity label changes, etc. And as we generate that, it sends that instruction to Purview in order to be able to start collating that information for me. Now, that won't take long, but what I do have is a report ready to go. So if we go into the activity auditing reports, you'll notice in here we've got the report already created for the human resources site with the date range and so on. And these reports are kept for 30 days. So if we open that report, just give that a moment to go through. So as you can see here, it's checking 438 items, and what we've got is all the granted permissions within inside that period of time. We can filter on that to have a look at all the permissions that have been revoked, and we'll see what object they were, who the initiator was, and who the member was that actually received the change. We can see permission inheritance changes as well as sharing link changes. So anything, if I shared something with myself and then removed that share, that's going to show up inside of this report. And you've also got group membership changes where people have been added and removed to each of the groups as well. So that's a great thing to do to check if somebody was to leave the organization, were there any permission changes occurring just prior to their removal. Now, going into the list of site collections, we can also perform a search on things like our sales site. So I'm just going to show you how we can cross the boundaries to different site collections now. If we do a search on sales, under Lightning Tool Sales here, what I could do is report on dead accounts. And that's going to show me any accounts that are inside the Entra ID that have been either disabled or deleted and still have permissions within inside this site collection. We can span multiple site collections if we want to. You'll notice that this scope just changes as we go through and select them, rerun the report. We'll be spanning those as well. So we've got the disabled accounts and the dead accounts, and anything that is a disabled account or a dead account, we can just go through and remove, and that will take them out as a user. That will remove any permissions, take them out of the groups, leave any metadata behind. So if they were the last modifier or the creator of a document, etc., that will still be intact. And that again is something that you can schedule if you need to. Now, another one of these views is the accounts view. So I'm just going to switch to that and do a search on Sandy. You'll see that Sandy has 4 accounts. She's collecting them. So these are coming in from different domains, including a personal account there. This top one, as you can see, is not italic, so that's the internal account. And what we can do is select that internal account. And from the reports menu, we could run a unique permissions report. So that's going to show me all the groups that she's a member of, if she's a site collection admin, what permissions she's been given to different content throughout the site or site collection. And I then have the ability to make any changes to any of that as well. Again, just as you saw, every single report is actionable, so we could go through and delete any of these permissions if need be. So that's a view of what permissions she has. And what we can also do and have a look at the OneDrive permissions or the OneDrive sharing links. So by checking that, I can see what Sandy shared externally, and once again, go through and remove those sharing links, getting rid of that risk of anything that she had stored in her own personal OneDrive. Okay. Um, so yeah, dead account reporting and removal, unique permissions reports for retired users, the OneDrive sharing link report, and the centralized tenant-wide cleanup. You could also perform across multiple site collections, as you just saw, and there's a select all site collections in order to be able to perform that. So, last problem that we're going to focus on here is storage grows while risk compounds. And yeah, the issue here is, of course, content is expanding all the time. We're creating documents, we're creating files and folders, and all the time metadata changes, or we make a change to that document, we could be creating a new version of that file, which doesn't just cause a security concern, it potentially starts costing us money as well. So with SharePoint E3, E5 licenses, you get 1 terabyte across the tenant for SharePoint. That's excluding what you get within OneDrive and so on. Plus, you get 10 gigabytes per user that has a SharePoint license. So 100 users, you can have effectively 2 terabytes of space. If you need to buy more, you buy that per gigabyte, and 5 terabytes is going to cost you around $12,000 a year. So one of the challenges is you're perhaps not using 6 terabytes of data if you were to remove all of the versions that you don't need and all of those duplicate files. So one of the things you'll be able to do here is look for the version history and to be able to bulk remove it. Now you can find the version history anyway in SharePoint sites, which we'll take a look at, but it's not actionable. And what DeliverPoint is doing here is making it actionable so you can clean up those multiple versions across your environment. And again, just like the kid's bedroom, often IT doesn't know what they can remove, what versions are still being utilized. So we're making it something that IT pros can do, but also site owners can have that responsibility as well on clearing up their own bedroom. So we're going to be able to identify duplicate files at scale, expose excessive file versions, and also take a look at the storage growth as well. So where are our largest files or largest document libraries, and being able to potentially clean those up. So again, we'll jump back here into DeliverPoint. We're going to go into the main DeliverPoint page and into the storage management. So again, we're here as a site owner. We saw the discover duplicate files. Here we've got the discover multiple file versions. You can once again pre-filter it. So if you're looking only file sizes over a certain size or created by a certain particular person or anything like that, or the amount of versions that there are, you can filter that information out. Um, and sorry, that was it. That was the explanation. So I'll hit generate, and in here you'll see everything that has a multiple version assigned to it. And this has got some large files, also some smaller files. You'll see some of the smaller files actually have a large amount of versions. So these are only 50K. They're one-page documents within Word. But by the time we've collated 25 versions of that file, you can see the overall size is, of course, 50 times what it needs to be. And some of those files may not need to exist. If they're years old, the file hasn't changed. We can see there when it was last modified. If it hadn't changed recently, then we may decide, let's get rid of those earlier versions. Now, SharePoint, like I said, is giving you that similar information. We can go into site information, have a look at our site things, come down here somewhere to storage metrics, and it tells us where the storage is being taken up inside of our site. So under documents, if we go into that, and employment contracts, again, we've got the version history that we can go in and take a look at. So it's giving us that total file size again. And if we hit the list of versions, you'll notice that we can't select them in here. We can't do anything in bulk. In fact, we do have the delete there, but again, it is one at a time. So what you'll be able to do again with DeliverPoint is find that information and clean it up. So we'll go into the multiple version files, generate that, and by selecting certain files or folders, we can remove either selected versions if we wanted to go through and select them, or you can remove all the previous versions other than the latest major version. And that's something that you can do by setting the pre-filter on as well. So ensuring that we're removing the right content. Okay, so that's performed. The other thing that you have here is storage consumption. So by running that, we can generate this and have a look at where is most of the consumption coming from. And you can see here in this recruitment interviews library that there's multiple MP4s that are obviously taking up quite a bit of space, and that's where all the file storage is. And all of these, whatever we select, you can then start to report on. So any of the reports like usage, when were these files last used? We could go through and check that out. We can also have a look at who's got permissions to that content. Is there any sharing links on this content? And come to the decision as to whether we need it or not. And if we don't, then that's something that we could potentially remove and save the storage before we end up buying more storage from Microsoft. And the other point here, again, that's something you could do as a site owner, or by using the tree view here, we could span multiple site collections. So as we select the multiple site collections in here, looking at duplicate files or storage consumption, we can do that across multiple site collections. We don't have to go into each one individually to find that information out. All right, so we've seen the file versions, we've seen the storage growth, and we've also seen those duplicate files, which you can then go through and remove. And once again, it's not just a storage consumption cost, it's also looking at making sure that we don't have multiple versions of those files with incorrect security set on each one. So who owns what? The nice thing about DeliverPoint is that you've got this ability as the person who owns the content, the person closest to the content, the person who knows what the content is, can use DeliverPoint, have bulk operations, bulk reporting across their sites so that they can keep them clean and tidy. IT pros, parents, they have the ability to maintain the whole house, the whole tenant. And of course, they've got purview, they've got guardrails in place. But using DeliverPoint, you can look for things like anyone links across multiple site collections and look where oversharing or perform audits, etc., so that you're able to support those site owners rather than do their job for them. A lot of the site owners really see security as a IT pro job. They don't see it as a HR manager's job to maintain security. So by working together, by being able to schedule reports on behalf of the site owner, etc., then you have that ability to maintain the guardrails and make sure that this is actually being. So creating your house rules, scheduled reporting is your friend here. So what we can do is have regular reviews of who has access, what sharing links have been created, etc., or how much storage has grown. And you can schedule that on behalf of the site owners. So if we just jump back into DeliverPoint for a moment, coming into this, opening up the tree view, what I might do is select multiple site collections in here without really knowing or caring who the site owner is. Under schedule, I could go through and say, I want to schedule a sharing links report. And if I don't populate the schedule on behalf of a user, it's just going to go to the site owner. And what we can then do is complete this based on what we want them to perform, schedule it, and they will then be notified once that report has been executed. And rather than getting a CSV file that they have to keep going back and forth on, they'll be able to access those reports from the scheduled reports menu. And there'll be a link go into that. So you can see here, I've just scheduled the report across multiple site collections. If we open up a previous one, we'll be able to open that up. And even though it's now static information, it's not up to date, it's still actionable. So you can still go through and remove the sharing links from within inside the sharing link report. So that's where IT can work together with site owners and effectively invite them to do that access review and to clean up the permissions as well. Okay, so we'll open up for questions. If there was some, I see, I think just four questions in here. Okay, so yeah, there's a question. I guess this may have been answered already about what happened to the dead accounts option, because we did jump into that. Just in case you missed it, it is still there. It's not disappeared. What often confuses people is that's a site collection level report, not a site level report. So you need to make sure that you have a site collection selected, and then the dead account menu will display. If you just have a site selected, no dead account report. It has to be performed at the site collection level. So hopefully that answers that for you. Question here, can Copilot access any shared with everyone link and give results to everyone, or only the link that has been shared with you? Yeah, so just to clarify, if you go in as a user that has access anyhow, Copilot is running in the context of the current user. We could go in and ask a question, innocent question, and if we have access file that contains that content with a everyone or anyone link, it will give me that answer even if I didn't have the link itself, because effectively you have generated the permission of anyone. And I just want to elaborate on that a little bit as well. And in fact, I'm going to do this as demo user 5, who once again only has edit permissions. So here is the results of that agent and asking the question. I just want to show you where you can use that agent. So within the document library, anybody with edit permissions and a Copilot license can create an agent within that document library. And it's worth just taking a look at that as well, actually. So if I hit create agent on one of these tabs, yeah, it tells you about the responses from agents are based on the sources selected. Users must have permissions to these sources. So you will have permissions to that content if there's anyone links and everyone links, etc. So anybody can create that. I've already created one. So I'm just going to go into the employment contracts. And one thing you'll notice is you've got this AI actions where I've got the ability to create an agent from there. And on each file, I've got the ability to ask a question, summarize, etc. Now this looks like it's only going to act on the file that I've got selected. But if I say summarize, so sometimes this is quick, sometimes it's not. Hopefully it will be quick. Okay, that actually did just summarize that document. Sorry, beg your pardon. Let me try ask a question. Oh yeah, so ask a question. If I say summarize these files, let's just give that a moment. And what you'll find is I might have again been looking purely at this one file because that's one that I'm interested in. But what it's actually gone and done is summarized all of the other files as well, and including that salary information. So anything that I inadvertently have access to in that document library, it's given me a summary. And again, it said it can't do this one, probably because the sensitivity label applied to it. All right. So how does the duplicate file detection algorithm work? Great question. So this is using the Graph API. The Graph API does actually allow you to compare files based on the GUID. So if it is a copy of the file, that GUID will be the same. So yeah, creating a copy of the file and doing that comparison, it will be able to find that file, even if the content is slightly different. It's going to be able to highlight that for you, and you can make the determination as to which ones you want to keep. All right. How do we get the storage management feature for DeliverPoint? So like I say, this is a premium feature. So there's information about that. We've got here under solutions, the SharePoint governance and storage control. So that gives you some information on it. It's not yet released. It's going to be released in about 2 weeks' time. So I should have mentioned that. Yeah, won't be available just yet. But everybody that upgrades to version 6.000 of DeliverPoint is going to have automatically a 30-day trial fully featured of the storage management feature. So that will be allowing you to report and do some cleanup using it within that 30 days, whether you buy it or not. So that's something that, yeah, once you upgrade to version 6 of DeliverPoint, you will be able to use that functionality within inside your tenant. And I see one more question. And that was the version history cleanup option. Is it available now? Or okay, so I think same question that was just asked. So yeah, that's something that will be available in a couple of weeks' time. You're able to trial it and make a decision as to whether that's going to be something that you wanted to upgrade to or not. All right, I think we've answered all the questions. If DeliverPoint is completely new to you, you do want to experience it, you can download it. So just go to the DeliverPoint product menu. There's a free trial option available to you here that will give you 30 days of both the permission side and the storage management side as well. You'll also be able to ask us any questions, support questions, etc. during that time also. If you do have any questions later that you didn't think of, feel free to reach out to me on brett@lightningtools.com, and I'll be happy to answer those as well. And if you wanted to, you can also book a demo from the products page as well. So if something that you want to get into in a bit more detail, we'll be able to do that and demonstrate that product in the level of detail that you require. But for now, thank you very much for joining. Next month, we do have another webinar, which is going to be on Social Squared. So helping with employee engagement and Q&A. So if you want to register for that one, look out for the links on our website that will be up there tomorrow. And for now, thank you very much. Appreciate you joining and hopefully see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.